You ever wonder what the hardest thing for the person to the left of you to do? What about even yourself? Have you ever wondered what someone's thinking about or the thing that you fear the most or anything such as that? Something that you know that is your kryptonite or your third rail. Tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about things that we find difficult to let go or difficult to do as an adult in this day and age. And we're going to get started and we're going to have that conversation on tonight. Hello, everyone. My name is Kamisha Whitaker-Moore, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Let's Talk podcast. I have my co-host with me today, my son Cam Bam.
What's up?
I also have joining us today my big little brother Bo.
What's going on, everybody?
All right, guys. So we're going to be talking about some of the hardest things for adults to do. Um, I was looking around, I was thinking about it. What is the hardest thing for a man, which means woman and man, to do? Because do you ever wonder just like, what is your heart? What is your kryptonite? What is your third rail? What is yours? What is something that you find very difficult to do? It could be, as a single mom, being single, raising your children for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage, and now you have to relinquish your cape, your superwoman cape, because you have to talk over things with your partner. And or is it something like, if someone hurts you, can you really forgive them and let things go? Or is it something like, um just having meaningful conversations with the people that you love? Are you scared to do that? Are you scared to fully open up? So let's talk about it. What say you? What do you
Mhm.
think that your kryptonite or your third rail is?
Is sometimes holding my tongue
Okay.
when I know that a situation doesn't play out the way it's supposed to play
Mm-hmm.
out or go as planned, and other people are talking and giving their input.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes talking and adding to that is fuel to the flame
Right.
versus being quiet and letting people talk and get it out. Because
Mhm.
sometimes as they get it out, they hear themselves.
Right.
And when they hear themselves, they're like, did I really say that?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
mine is like holding my tongue instead of trying to correct everything at the very same time.
Totally understand that. I
Yeah.
think that I don't think I know that there's been situations where I just need to talk out loud and I can figure things out in my head, because the way that I learn and do things, I have to see it. I have to touch it. I have to feel it. I have to do all the things. And so if there's a problem or something that I feel like that's in my head, if I can get it out, it's workable. If I can write it down, I can see it, I can work it out. You know what I'm saying?
You do.
So sometimes, I don't need you to fight my battles because I can fight my own battles.
Hmm.
I just need a listening ear or somebody shoulder just kind of lean on, like, allow me to do the talking, and you just sit there and listen, and then I can figure it out. Because how hard is it for you just to sit here and listen to me without putting your input in?
Not too hard.
For most people,
Mhm.
it really is, because we want to chime in and we want to give you thus said the Lord,
Right.
or we want to give you what we think or
Right.
our
Right.
opinion of what we would do. Those shoulda, couldas, and never wouldas, and all
Mhm.
of those things. And so sometimes we don't need all that. We just need somebody to just sit there, look at me, pay attention to what I'm saying, and let me figure this out. Now, if I asked you,
Right. Right.
that's something totally different.
Right.
What about you, Cam? Do you have one? I think everybody does.
I would say, well, yeah, I'm gonna just say that. I would say probably like managing my time with the people that I love,
Mm-hmm.
because like me and Kendall, I haven't been in a relationship this long,
Right.
like almost 2 years, and like just trying to be able to like have some me time, plus make sure she's good, and the dogs that we have,
Mm-hmm.
it can get kind of,
A little hectic.
yeah, for sure.
I totally get that. It makes a lot of sense. I think that when people are, or their love language is a little bit different than what you have, sometimes, or maybe the same, sometimes we want it, but we can't give it because we don't understand it. And then sometimes people can be just a little selfish. And then sometimes we're just really busy and we really don't think about it. Not that we're trying to hurt anyone on purpose, but sometimes we just don't, we get it, but we can't give it, if that makes sense. We can, but it's like
the process.
It is definitely a process. It's like, okay, I get up at 5 o'clock. I need to give my dogs at least 6 o'clock. And then, I need to do this at 7 o'clock. And then by the time you give and share and give everybody a part of you, you're exhausted. And all you want to do is just take a bath and lay down and just chill, rest your mind and different things like that. So honestly, it is a hard situation. But is it doable?
Definitely
It really
doable.
is. It's definitely doable. I know for me, honestly, there's a couple of things that I find to be my third rail. Sometimes I know that we talk about forgiveness, and I can forgive someone for something that they've done to me. Honestly, dependent, and I can forgive. I really can. But sometimes I don't forget. Sometimes if it's minute, I can let it go. I won't even remember and we'll just keep it moving, right? But then sometimes I will forgive, but I don't forget about that. And then sometimes I can find myself inside of my own head. And then I'm
Mm,
like, hey, mm-mm, I can't do this again. Or especially if I'm watching you and then it's like there's no improvement, then it's like, mm-mm, I can't trust that. You know what I mean?
right, right,
And
right.
so sometimes I feel like I'm in my own head. I'm in my own little world. But I'm like, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? Am I really seeing these red flags? Or are these like pink flags? Or are they like maroon flags? Just
Uh,
different things like that. And so sometimes our mind really can play tricks on us if we allow it to. And sometimes you got to get a place of just like really like away in peace and quiet to just really figure some things out because if not, you're going to get lost in the shuffle.
yes.
You're going to get lost out here in what you think is real and what's really not real. And sometimes what we believe to be is real isn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's another hard thing for people to swallow. It's just like, I know that I feel this is real because I feel it in my heart, in my mind, in my body, and in my soul. But the other person, it's not. It is not. And I know, and I've said this a lot, as a woman, women or men are wired totally different. I had a conversation with daddy just the other day, and he said the same thing. Women and men are different. Where women love so much, and sometimes guys, they do love, but they don't love you the way that you need to be loved, and vice versa. Because he was a little vulnerable at that moment and was like, hey, sometimes women don't love guys the way that they need to be loved. And we talk about guys a lot because we're like the women and we do all the things, but guys have issues with these things too.
True.
There's a lot of things that guys go through that women go through too. Guys love, they love hard. Sometimes women love hard too. But then what about that medium? How can you meet in the middle? Because say for instance,
Hmm.
you love hard,
Right.
but then you're in a relationship with someone that doesn't. And their love to you is not what you need. How do you fix that? Or what do you do? Think
I
about it, Cam, because I'm coming to you next.
I think that there needs to be a conversation.
Hmm.
If I feel like I'm giving more than I'm getting,
Hmm.
I first think that there needs to be a conversation to be like, okay, well, I know that you love me. I
Hmm.
know that you care for me, but I don't feel it the way I feel like I should feel it.
Hmm.
And I think we should sit down and if you feel the same way, we should have that conversation and see how do we improve on making the other person feel secure. Because I do know that like you said, men and women, they are wired differently.
Hmm.
And not to, I don't want to be stereotypical or anything like that,
Hmm.
but I come to find in my experiences, a lot of the women, because my family's full of women,
Hmm.
a lot of women are emotional, and sometimes when you're making decisions in an emotional state of mind, you tend to not make a decision based on what's fact or
Right.
what's logic because now your emotions are controlling the conversation.
Hmm.
And me, I would like to say that I'm a logical thinker.
Hmm.
Not to say that I can't feel emotions or even act on emotions, but I feel like if I could just quiet down and then just say, okay, 1 + 1 = 2.
Hmm.
And then if my input and your input, if it equals together, then it should make sense.
Okay.
You know what I
I want
mean?
to, yeah, I do. I want to hit on that more in just a little bit,
Yeah.
but I want to get Cam's reply. What about you, Cam?
Uh, to be honest, see, that's why I don't like get into relationships too quick
Mhm.
because I need to see like how that person is. I do a lot of studying a person. Like when I first meet somebody,
Mhm.
and I feel like I can pursue with them.
Mhm.
I do a lot of studying, and for me, like that's a topic that I guess I wouldn't say I struggle with, but it's different because like if you are dating somebody, then that's who you're dating. And I'm not saying that they need to change or anything, but like that person is that person and they're gonna love the way that they know how. And yes, there is certain things that like you can tell them like I need more of this, I need more of that. But at the end of the day, I feel like they're gonna love how they're supposed to love. So like getting in a relationship, me personally, I would
Mhm.
know that. And then if I felt like I could handle that, then I would get in that situation, if that makes sense.
Okay. I got you.
So I see it a little bit different than y'all do because like you are your own person and you
Mhm.
love a certain way,
Mhm.
and I'm my own person. I love a certain way, and I really feel like when people say that, it's telling me basically to like change who I am,
Mhm.
so it'll fit their narrative of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
I
that's why I
got you.
struggle with it because like I won't change for anybody. That sounds selfish, but that's just how it is.
Right.
Like I'll do the best I can, how no, the way I know how,
Mhm.
and if there is things that I can improve on, then yes. But at the end of the day, I feel like I can only love you the way that I know how to love.
Makes
That makes sense.
sense. I
Yeah.
think that when people are in relationships, you know what you're getting into.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes women, more so than men, and sometimes men as well, they feel as if I see potential there, I can change you down the road. I can get you to go to church. I can make you do this. I can make you do that. Or I can kind of lean you into doing this, into doing that. And if they're not doing this in the relationship, what makes you think that they're going to do it after a while? Sometimes it definitely works. And sometimes people will do that. Sometimes people won't do that. So if you're in a relationship and then you see potential in someone and you're like, oh, I can get them to change, but then they don't change, what do you do? Is that difficult? Is that a difficult situation for you? Do we continue to talk about it or do we just kind of let things go and be on our way? Or is it foolish of you to even expect some unrealistic expectations from somebody that you're trying to get into a relationship that already told you, showed you who they were?
Mm.
Is that what it is?
I think so because like we said earlier, anything that you care about, you want to improve, you want
Mhm.
to get better. This person, this individual, by myself, and I'm good, and I expect to get into a relationship, and I want a relationship, and I see a person that they're good as well.
Mhm.
Doesn't it make sense for when we unite for us to be better
Mhm.
as a whole?
Mhm.
Because stagnant is staying still. And if I'm stagnant, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do the same routine. And I might get better at the routine, but do I evolve to be a better person?
Mhm.
Is the question.
Makes sense.
And don't we all at the end of the day want to be better at what it is that we do?
Mhm.
Whatever, if that's a hobby, if that's a profession, we don't go into it to be the same.
Right.
We go into it to be better.
Right. So say for instance we got a better relationship.
Mhm,
We're good. We're
mhm,
fine. We're just moving right along, or we think that we are,
mhm,
right? And this perfect person, or not so perfect person, but this person that is perfect for you that you think in your mind is we're good to go. And then all of a sudden, that perfect person that you think flips, right? Then they hurt you. They're gone. They're done, whatever the case may be. All right. Is it hard for you and you still love this person, would that be hard for you to bring them back into what used to be? Or would you just kind of let them go? Would you forgive wholeheartedly and completely if they asked you to, and then allow them to come back with another chance on hurting you again? Or do you just like, listen, I think we're just gonna cut ties here because I don't have time for that. What is hard for you? I mean, honestly, because this is what we're talking about. What
mhm,
is your third rail? What's difficult for you to do? Is that difficult for you to forgive somebody wholeheartedly and just keep on going? If someone hurt you,
mhm.
seriously,
Right.
can you forgive wholeheartedly and just jump right back into that same situation?
I can forgive, but to jump back into the same situation,
Hmm.
that's like doing the very same thing and getting and looking for something different.
But I understand that.
Mhm.
But yet and still, if you forgive
Mhm.
and then you start this relationship again,
Mhm.
you may not start where you left off,
Right, you won't.
but the end result is going to be almost where we were.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So we're gonna do a little bit better. She's gonna do better. She's not gonna do this. She's not gonna step out. Or he's gonna do better. He's not gonna step out. He's not gonna do this. But in the back of your mind,
Mhm.
if you're constantly thinking about something like this, honestly, can you forgive that person and just really, really, really be in a relationship with somebody like that?
If you are constantly thinking about it,
Mhm.
then no, you can't. Because somebody told me, and I know this may sound different, but I think it goes along with it. Worrying about something is like worshiping the problem.
Uh-huh.
So if in the back of your mind, you're constantly thinking that this person is going to hurt you,
Mhm.
you never let it go. You never forgave them because anything that happens, it's a process.
Mhm.
So allow yourself time, realistic time
Mhm.
to say, well, okay, I'm working on it, you're working on it. We're going to do some things different to make it better.
Mhm.
And if we're not moving towards that, then we just going in a circle. It won't get better unless two people are showing the same effort to get there.
Right.
If not, then it's just going through the motions for the simple fact because I said I would.
Mhm.
But saying and doing are two different things. It has action. If
Right.
there is no action, then there is no result.
Mhm.
You're standing in the same place.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm just me. I just want to know because the thing is, what is something that is hard for you to do?
Mm.
Like for me, it was really hard for me to be in a marriage and like not be the one who's making decisions for my
Right,
children.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That was hard for me. So it took a while to get to where, hey, listen, what do you think? And all these things right here, because I've done it for so long. I'm comfortable in that seat. And it's a little bit different when you're not in that seat. So that's one of the things that was like really hard for me to adjust to
Mhm.
because of that, because I'm familiar in this situation. So I totally understand that. And to me, it's a I guess my brain doesn't work well when or maybe I'm not or maybe I just don't understand because if you tell someone,
Mhm.
right? Kim, you tell Kendall, I love you, right? And you love Kendall. But then you go and you cheat on Kendall. Did you really love Kendall?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. Because with that, it's just yes, and I hate when I hate when people do this. When people make mistakes, right? Yes,
Mhm.
people make mistakes, and then when something happens, say a mistake in general,
Mhm.
this is how I feel about it. If you don't come and tell me like the situation
Mhm.
and I find out, you're not sorry.
Right.
You're
Mhm.
only sorry because I caught you
Right.
Yes.
or I found out.
Right.
Right.
You're not sorry because if I would never found out, you would never said nothing. Everything would have
Mhm.
been perfectly fine.
Right.
That's why, like, for me, that's one of the easiest things to do is like, if somebody does hurt me, it's easy drop, get them out the way, get them out your life,
Yeah.
and then just move on. Yeah, you're gonna be hurting, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, like, if I can't see you, if I can't see what you're doing, if I don't have your number anymore, it'll be so much easier on me just to
Mentally.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why like it's so quick. I'm so quick to do that because like if I know like if I get hurt or whatever and like they're still on my phone, in my phone, anything,
Mhm.
pictures, messages, anything like that, then like it'll make me think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they're not there, it's just like it never happened.
I
Right.
got you. I heard someone say today, and honestly, when they said it, it made me really think. He said that I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember word for word. He said that as I've gotten older, I'm not worried about if someone likes me or something to that
Mhm.
effect, but it was more so about loyalty.
Mhm.
Are you loyal to me? Because if you're not loyal, then I don't trust you and I don't need you on my team.
Right.
It's all about loyalty. And as we get older, And honestly, even younger people, but as we for real get older, we're in our 40s. It is about the loyalty. It is
Mhm.
about, being able to trust someone that you feel like I can trust 110%, because what doesn't work is you're out here in these streets and we're acting like we're young kids and doing all the things that we shouldn't be doing or whatever the case may be. There's consequences behind your
Exactly.
actions. There's always going to be consequences behind your actions. But I totally agree with Cam as well. If you were not going to tell me that you did this, you had no intentions on telling me. You just told me because you got caught, or you did tell me, or you continue not to tell the whole unadulterated truth because you got caught.
Right. And that's not a mistake. That's a decision.
It is to make decisions. And
Mhm.
the thing about decisions are, like I said, there's always consequences behind it. But I feel as if sometimes people make decisions and they expect us or people that they've hurt or did these things to they giving us unrealistic expectations of getting over it, hurry up, or you either gonna trust me or you're not. You either gonna be in a relationship or you're not. But the thing about it is, people have to have time to process things the way that they need to process. You can't rush that. And so with that, I find it sometimes hard I can forgive, but I find it hard to let it out of my brain and my mind, because once you do something and you say that you're going to straighten up,
Mhm.
you move a different way.
Uh,
You do things differently. But if I continue to see the same things that you're doing and they're still sneaky, like on the sneaky side of things, you ain't trying to change,
right.
because I'm seeing these things and I'm not dumb. I might not say a lot,
Right,
but I
right.
ain't stupid. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So I think that it is really hard for people to forgive, especially when it's a situation like this.
Mhm.
Or one of the hardest things, because like I said, I've been using ChatGPT.
Mhm.
They threw out like forgiveness sometimes and not forgetting. They even threw out control. How hard
Mhm.
is it for somebody to give up control?
It, like, it could be very hard, and it could and there's a process. I felt like since I'm uncle, then hey, anything happen, it go on me. So if you say something to them, then you got me to answer to. As we got older and as they got older, they start saying, "I got it."
Yeah. How did that make you feel?
It took me a
Because you had
long
no more control.
it took me a long time to get used to,
Mm,
and it was kind of hard.
yeah.
It was kind of hard,
That.
but yeah.
So another one was basically starting over after failure. It doesn't have to be failed relationships. It
Mm,
doesn't have to be anything like that. How hard is that to do for anybody? For like with any topic, with
mm,
anything. That was another hard one too, because you just think about something that you failed at, and then how hard was it for you to get back up and just try it again? But the thing about what I do know is this: there's going to be failure.
well,
You can't grow if you don't fail. If all you do is just like you keep going and going and going, you don't know how to, like, say for instance, if you fail, then you know what not to do the next time. So it's a life lesson with when you fail. I know there's this lady, I'm not going to say who she is, but we all know her. They have an issue with starting over or doing something different, right?
mhm,
Because they're scared to fail.
mhm,
You hadn't even failed yet. You don't even know if you're going to fail. You're just scared because you got it already in your mind and in your brain that you're going to fail. So you don't want to try it. And then no matter how many pep talks you give, no matter how much you say, you got this, we're behind you, whatever, they don't like to do it because they're scared to fail.
mhm,
And that's one of the hardest things that I see with this person
mhm,
to do. Number one is giving up that control of, you know what, I'm okay right here, because right here I can control.
mhm,
But starting something totally different, they can't control it. They don't know the outcome, and it's difficult for them to kind of navigate through that.
mhm,
In which is kind of scary too, because you never know how much elevation you can kind of get
mhm,
from just trying it
right.
and just kind of moving and doing all the things. So I think that with all of it, everybody has a third rail. Everybody has their kryptonite. Everybody has the things that they don't want to do or things that they find really hard for them to let go of.
Mhm.
You know, even starting relationships after one has failed. How do you feel about that? Do you start a new one? Do you sit down for a long time? What happens there? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot that you could definitely say, a lot that you can definitely put on top of your plate because once you read all the things, you can be like, oh yeah, I can relate to that, or I can relate to this, or I can relate to that. Because, like I said, one of the hardest things for me to do, honestly, was to trust someone. Because number one, when you get hurt, this is some of the things that you take into a new relationship.
Mhm.
I didn't say that, but that is definitely one. But what I did say was giving up or giving up power. Like when I'm superwoman with
Mhm.
my children and with my family, giving up that cape
Mhm.
to somebody,
Right.
right? And then they're making decisions and different things like that. So I think that it's kind of hard for people to do things that we really need to just really, like refocus our focus on, because if we kind of hold those things down and we never explore or let things go, we'll always be in the same situation. And the whole purpose of the thing is to just kind of grow and get out of that. But sometimes it's super difficult to. Number
Mhm.
one, because you can be the strongest person in the room. I'm talking about like mentally strong, or people think that you're strong, and you could be the weakest as well because people don't know how you feel on the inside. And honestly, my mom said this to me today. She said, love hides a multitude of faults,
Mhm.
and love does, right? But when love has nothing to do with that, and you're like drowning in emotions and different things like that, how in the world do you work that out? What's hiding that? You know what I'm saying? Nothing but your face,
Right.
and you playing games with yourself because you feel a certain way, but you're presenting yourself another way.
Right. Feel
Have
that.
you ever? I know we talked about that too. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, how do you get beyond all of these things and move past all of the hurt, the unforgiveness, or I've forgiven you, I can't forget that, and different things like that. And now you at a point to where I don't even think I want this anymore. I just
Mhm.
want to break ties and kind of move around. What do you do?
Yeah.
Me,
Yeah, yeah. We was silent a little bit.
for I don't speak for everybody. I just speak for myself.
Right.
But in that situation, like I know what pain feels like. I know what hurt feels like. And if somebody is bringing me that, me having respect for myself
Mm,
and not wanting to feel that outweighs them being there in any
Right.
other option in that case. So I mean, that's why it's never hard for me to pick myself over anybody else because I'm living. I'm gonna feel all the emotions.
yeah,
Right.
So like, I'd rather be okay with myself than just sit here, even though I feel like it's comfortable
yeah,
or feel
Mhm.
like, we've been together for a long time. Let's just, day by
Yeah.
day, it's the same thing. It'll be fine. No, not the case.
yeah, for
Until
sure.
regret and anger and
Yeah.
dismissal and all that type of stuff. I like to think like sometimes that when all this stuff is coming to play and it's going in our head, I like to think sometimes that it's because we're living in our head. And when we're living in our head, to me, I think we're just existing. When those thoughts that are inside of your head and you're able to let those out and act on them, then you're back to living. To be like, if you're not working hard like I'm working hard to make this work, then I can't do it for you. I can only do it for me, for us. But if you're not on the same page,
Mm,
then you're a weight. Then
right.
you're pulling me down instead of lifting me.
You're right. I totally agree with that. I think that, not I think that, but when do you think it's time to like walk away? Say, for instance, you're in a relationship, the relationship isn't working out, or something happened in the relationship and then you tried. And you're just like, hey, we need to go to counseling. Hey, we need to start reading the Bible again. Hey, we need to start praying together again. Doing all the things that we know that we should do. And then they're definitely dismissed,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And so they're dismissed because we don't need all that. So
mm,
then at that moment, what do you do? How do you handle that situation? Because if these are suggestions that people are throwing out there
mhm,
to fix a relationship, then, and if your partner says, your wife says or your husband says, "Hey, listen," or your boyfriend or girlfriend says, "I don't think it takes all that."
They don't want to work on it.
So, but yet and still, I want to work on the relationship.
Actions.
But there's nothing that's happening. How long do you stay in that situation of you're of waiting to see if something is going to happen when there's no effort being put forth?
When I see no effort is being put forth, when I see that there's no effort being put forth, it's time for me. Because, like
Do you
Kim,
not give it an opportunity? Do you not give it like 30 days, 60 days, a year, or whatever the case may be?
no, I don't, because we've had a conversation. We've
Mhm.
talked about what we're trying to do. Oh, that's too much? It's too much for you to work on.
Mhm.
Okay, I gave you another suggestion. You don't want to do that? Oh, that's not necessary? Oh, it's not necessary that you want to work on this. Then after attempts, then hey, 3 strikes and you're out.
Gotcha.
For me.
Okay. Gonna say,
Yeah,
so
for
Well,
we ain't
sure.
even
Yeah,
asking.
yeah, for
what?
sure. We feel the same way because
Same question.
yeah.
Oh, I just for me it's like when I'm like just living and it's starting to like interrupt like the things that I'm doing
Your
and what I
peace.
want to do. Yeah, for sure. If I'm just say I get home from work and it's just like interfering with my like mind, that's like I don't want to go to work out. I just want to sit here and just think about it. No, that's not. That's
Costs too
definitely
much.
yeah. Nah, gotta go.
Gotcha. Makes perfect
Gotta
sense.
go.
I totally understand that. I do. I think sometimes as women we give it opportunities or chances sometimes, but honestly, sometimes we already know that it's a lost cause, but yet and still we give people the benefit of the doubt, but they still disappoint each and every time. So then, number one, you see that, and then you go into, oh my gosh, this is going to be a failed situation. What do I do now? What are people going to say? And then you're worried about being judged by other people
Mhm.
that seeing your relationships or different things like that. So that could be a hard pill to swallow as well. So if someone is even in that situation, say for you, Bo,
Mhm.
let's just say, for instance, you're in a relationship, then your relationship is not working out, like, hey, we're trying, or you're trying, no one else is trying. And then you feel like this is not going to work out. Then here comes judgment
Mhm.
because here we are in this relationship and everybody's seeing us and all the things we've been here, we've done this. And so you're worried about judgment. How hard is that for you to even, is that a hard pill for you to swallow when it
No.
comes to people you being judged or people, being judgy toward you in your relationship? Oh, he thought he was all that. Here he
No.
go bringing her to church and it didn't even work out. What?
When we see potential in someone, because we're putting ourselves in their shoes if we were them
Right.
in that situation. So we tend to do that. But worrying about judgment, no. I know that they judge Jesus. I know that they didn't like Jesus.
I think that, you know, as a society, as people, and honestly, sometimes as Black people, we are so mean and hateful to our own kind to where we want relationships destroyed. And once you see that they are destroyed, oh, they weren't going to last. I already knew they weren't going to last. I'm just like, I don't understand why it's so hard for us to be happy for somebody or to cheer other people on. That's
Mhm.
another hard thing for me. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I don't get the part to where, and this is just my little rant. I don't get the part the understand. I don't understand why, as people that should be coming together to
Mhm.
help, how and why we talk about somebody so badly, and you have way more than they have.
Right.
I've never seen so much envy and jealousy in Black women and men that I have recently encountered here lately. And honestly, it's so disheartening because we're supposed to be on the same team.
Right.
And that's what you thinking. You think that
Mhm.
you're on the same team, but yet and still, we're supposed to like hoo-ha and hooray each other on and cheer each other on and not be jealous or envy. But hey, but they do. But yet and
Mhm.
still, you over here talking about me.
It puts them in a false. It gives them a false. I don't want to say hope. It gives them a false sense of we're being like now that she's down. Okay, we back on the same level. People, I hate, like you said, I hate the fact that people don't root each other on.
Yeah.
I like to see everybody
We were
winning.
taught that
Yeah,
way. I taught my kids that.
a lot of people were not taught that way, And I know that for the simple fact is that as long as I make it to what I'm trying to do, you know what I'm saying? I feel happy in that. And that should be the next person as well, instead of comparing themselves to each other. That's where the envy come in at, because everybody want to move at the same time, but everybody ain't doing the same prayer.
Right.
Everybody ain't fasting.
Mhm.
Everybody ain't working out their relationships and talking about it. Some people just drop it and saying, "Okay, I'm done,"
Yeah.
and then there are other people that want to work on it. So that was a mouthful, but I was just feeling it.
And
You know what
baby,
I'm
it
saying?
was. I totally understand that. But you're right. You're right. I think everyone is different when it comes to different things. But we went around Sally, Paul, and Jane's house just to come back to where we are, and where we're supposed to be is, what's hard for you? What is the hardest thing for you to do?
Mm.
Is it forgiving people? Is it like letting go s- um of your power? Is it just like admitting to failure and restarting or whatever? What is your third rail? What is it that is really hard for you to do? And then honestly, sometimes we just got to get out there and just do it, and don't worry about, what people say or what people think, and kind of go from there. I know that we are at the end of our podcast on today. And we always leave with a positive. Always, always, always. Cam, you were a little quiet today, but that's okay. We go through
Watching,
topics. Yeah,
listening.
Bo took over the whole podcast, but that's okay. He has something to say, and we are here to listen. But what would you give, or what advice would you give someone? And we don't have to go to Cam. We can go to Bo, whomever. What advice would you give someone that that's having a difficult time, like honestly, I say I forgive you but I can't forget it, or I feel like I'm just losing a grip on life, or I feel like I'm just losing my power, or whatever the case may be. What advice would you give someone that may feel like it's a difficult situation, but hey, it's not that bad for you? What would you say to someone?
I would just say, if you really think that it's worth it, then you should definitely fight for it
Mhm.
or do it. In other words, like, say for instance, like the failure thing. I I mean, yeah, it's hard to restart when failure, but the way I look at regret compared to failure, like
Mhm.
the pain, it's just like I don't want to be 40 years old and regretting my whole life instead of just restarting the failed opportunity.
Right.
Or like, if, how I see somebody go do something, I'm like, that's perfect, that's good for them, but like at the same time, like, what's the difference? What's the difference between me and you? Like, you did it, why can't I do it?
Yeah. True.
So, I mean, just if it's worth it, then just keep working for it. Fight for it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. But what about you? What would you give somebody on tonight? Some advice on tonight on, their third wheel, their kryptonite, what really kind of shuts them down because of fear of losing it, or whatever that's hard for them to let go of or to deal with. What would you tell someone?
I would tell them that change is not always failure. Sometimes change is for the better. Sometimes change is just a new chapter, a new elevation, a new day.
Mm-hmm.
That everything that we look at as being bad, sometimes it's necessary to grow.
Totally. You're right about that. For me, honestly, I would just say that, kind of piggyback off Bo and Cam, sometimes change is definitely necessary. And sometimes when things just don't work out the way that you thought they were going to work out, it's okay to move around. It's okay to rethink or to refocus your focus on different things like that, because sometimes things just not what they need to be. And it's okay to cry about it. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to process it. It's okay. But at the end of the day, you have to know what you're going to do and how you're going to overcome it. So things may seem difficult today, but I promise you, you're going to make it. You're going to be okay. And no matter what trials and tribulations that you may be going through, what demons you're fighting on your own, you're going to be okay. Things going to be good. So that is the end of our podcast on today. We hope that you guys definitely enjoyed. And if you would, just give us a thumbs up, subscribe it out, tell everyone that you know about our podcast. We're definitely trying to grow our family over here. And to the next one, guys.